Welcome back to the basement. I'm Steve Lewis. This week we continue our look at the first quarter of 1966 with movies, television, and a look at what the Beach Boys are up to in the very eventful months of January, February, and March. Starting with movies, late 1965 releases still doing well at the box office as the year begins include the new James Bond film Thunderball, which opened on December 29th and topped the box office in the last week of 1965. It'll remain at number one for the first 8 weeks of 1966, ending its run on March 2nd. The Sound of Music first hit number one at the box office back on April 2nd, 1965, and had spent 29 non-consecutive weeks at number one during the year. On March 2nd, The Sound of Music will return to number one for 5 weeks, followed by Dr. Zhivago, which had premiered on December 22nd, 1965, topping the box office for 3 weeks. After that, The Sound of Music and Dr. Zhivago will alternate at number one almost weekly for the first half of 1966. Even when we get to the fall of 66, The Sound of Music will return to top the box office for 1 more week beginning September 14th, and Dr. Zhivago will spend an additional 6 weeks at number one beginning September 21st. Another film doing strong box office early in the year is Disney's 1965 holiday release, That Darn Cat, which will become the 5th highest grossing film of 1966. Notable new film releases in the first quarter of 66 include Our Man Flint, starring James Coburn in one of the first of many parodies that we'll see of James Bond-style spy movies this year. It'll also be one of the most popular. It opens on January 16th. On January 19th comes the Los Angeles premiere of the Big TNT Show. It's an unofficial follow-up to the Tammy Show from roughly a year earlier and features performances filmed at the Moulin Rouge Theater on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles on November 29th and 30th, 1965. The host is teen heartthrob David McCallum from TV's Man from U.N.C.L.E. Among featured performers are Bo Diddley, Donovan, Petula Clark, Roger Miller, Ike and Tina Turner, Joan Baez, The Lovin' Spoonful, Ray Charles, and The Byrds. Opening on January 20th is The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, a scare comedy starring Don Knotts from The Andy Griffith Show. For a quickie kids movie, it has some effectively scary and funny moments. It also features memorable music by Vic Mizzy and a cast made up of just about every veteran support player on the Universal lot in the mid-60s. The Silencers opens on February 12th. It's another spy comedy, this one starring Dean Martin as Matt Helm. It'll be a major box office hit, leading to 3 sequels over the next 3 years. Opening on February 21st is Lord Love a Duck, a teen black comedy starring Roddy McDowall and Tuesday Weld. Harper, a crime drama with Paul Newman in the title role, opens on February 23rd. On March 4th comes Sidney Lumet's The Group, based on the 1963 bestseller by Mary McCarthy. It's a drama featuring an ensemble cast headed by Candice Bergen as a Vassar graduate coping with life in the 1930s. And released on March 31st is the first Elvis movie of the year, Frankie and Johnny. This time, Elvis is a singer and gambler on a Mississippi riverboat in what vaguely appears to be the 19th century. And turning to television, on Tuesday, January 11th, CBS unveils its mid-season replacement for the long-running Western Rawhide. Daktari is a family adventure series based on the 1965 movie Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion. It's set in an African animal hospital and research center and stars Marshall Thompson as veterinarian Marsh Tracy, Cheryl Miller as his daughter Paula, and Yale Summers as conservationist Jack Dane, with Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion and Judy the Chimp. It'll be a hit, ending the 1966-67 season as the 7th highest rated TV series and will run for 3 years. ABC cancels its twice-weekly half-hour pop music series Shindig and replaces it on Wednesday, January 12th with a new twice-weekly half-hour series, Batman. Each week begins with a cliffhanger episode on Wednesday nights at 7:30 and airs the exciting conclusion on Thursday nights, same bat time, same bat channel. It stars Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin. The look and tone are a complete departure from anything else on TV. Visually, it's like a comic book. Bright colors, weird angles, outlandish sets, costumes, and props, lots of movement, and even big cartoon titles like Biff and Pow superimposed over the fight scenes. For those with color TV sets, the extreme color palette really makes the show pop. This is a show made for color TV. The arch, over-the-top tone defines camp for those who previously thought it was just something you did outside. Simply presenting humor without a laugh track is revolutionary. Batman's comedy winks at you instead of drawing you a map. It's such a departure for a TV series in 1966 that it's still hard to know where it came from. Batman is not only an unexpected and immediate hit, it becomes a sensation. Little kids find it exciting. Teens and adults find it hilarious. The ones missing out are kids like I was, who are old enough to find it unrealistic, but too young to understand the humor. Soon enough, many big-name celebrities are clamoring to appear on the show, and of course its success will influence other TV shows. More about that later. The media picks up on Batman right away. Already in March, the series is on the cover of Life magazine, and Batman merchandise begins hitting stores almost immediately. In a happy coincidence for them, Aurora Plastics happened to release a Batman model kit in 1965, which begins flying off the shelves. In the fall, they'll add a Batmobile kit, which will also be a big seller. In 1966, dozens of other items will be released, including board games, play sets, a Batman helmet and cape, wastebaskets, Viewmaster reels, and a couple series of bubblegum cards. Naturally, there are a number of Batman records, some with stories and some with music, including the official TV theme by Neil Hefti. In March, Jan and Dean released their original album, Jan and Dean Meet Batman. Jan and Dean had started recording it just one day after the Batman series premiered on ABC with a song called Batman that Jan had already written. Jan and Dean had advanced knowledge of the show because they'd been filming a pilot for a TV series called On the Run, also produced by 20th Century Fox. In February, Jan and Dean complete the pilot episode of On the Run. They'd been working on it on and off since November. The format is inspired by A Hard Day's Night and features the adventures of Jan and Dean, loosely based on their real lives. It's directed by William Asher, a veteran of TV, as well as the director of many of AIP's Beach Party movies. In the pilot episode, we're introduced to the boys as college students who moonlight as pop stars. The surreal tone is established immediately as they change instantly from suits to casual wear as they leave their classes. Though it's not explained on the show, Jan is still on crutches with a broken leg from an accident on the set of the unfinished film Easy Come, Easy Go in August. The duo head to the airport where we're introduced to supporting cast members Jack Fletcher as their manager George and Hal Blaine, well cast as their drummer and musical director Clobber. They fly to San Diego for a concert and a romp at the San Diego Zoo. Of course, they won't be the only Southern California pop group to be photographed at the San Diego Zoo in 1966. While Jan and Dean romp, one of their entourage, Beulah, is searching for them and tells a zookeeper that she's trying to find two good-looking men. He asks if it has to be two. She replies, "Not necessarily. Make it 5 and we'll call it the Beach Boys." Director William Asher's wife, Elizabeth Montgomery, makes a very brief appearance at the zoo in character as Samantha from the hit ABC series Bewitched. From San Diego, it's on to Washington, D.C. for a romp at the Smithsonian and on the Mall, before returning to Los Angeles and their college classes. As things transpire, the pilot will go unaired and little heard of at the time. Today, happily, it can be viewed anytime here on YouTube. Meanwhile, on January 17th, NBC picked up a new Screen Gems series with a similar format that it plans to begin airing in the fall. It's called The Monkees, spelled with 2 E's. More about it, of course, later. On Monday, March 28th, ABC begins broadcasting the British secret agent series The Avengers in America. It stars Patrick Macnee as John Steed and Diana Rigg as Mrs. Emma Peel. The show has already run in the UK since 1961 and has undergone a couple of major retoolings and cast changes which the American audience never sees. The series is funny, exciting, distinctive, and stylish, and Mrs. Peel is a standout for being a tough, clever, confident female TV character. Personally, she inspired my mother to study judo in the late 60s. The show will run on American television until 1969, by which time Diana Rigg will have departed the show to pursue a career in movies. The Beach Boys kick off the year on January 1st, headlining the 1966 New Year's Spectacular concert in Seattle, Washington, with Gary Lewis and the Playboys, the Beau Brummels, and the Yardbirds, among others. A few days later, they arrive for their first ever tour of Japan, which begins in Tokyo on January 7th and winds up back in Tokyo on January 23rd. In photos from their press conference, we get a good look at the beard Mike Love grew late in '65, which puts him well ahead of the curve for facial hair on rock stars. It'll also give the band a distinctive look. When I was a kid, I knew the Beach Boys were the group who had the tall guy with the hat and beard. On January 10th in Kyoto, they're photographed in samurai costumes. Some of those photos will appear on the back cover of their next album. After the tour, Carl, Al, and Dennis head for Hawaii, while Mike, Bruce, and pal Dick Duryea go to Hong Kong for a few days before flying to Hawaii to join the others. Before heading home, they play a show in Honolulu on January 29th. Meanwhile, on January 29th, the Barbara Ann single begins a 2-week run at number 2 on the chart, behind the Beatles' We Can Work It Out in the first week, and Petula Clark's My Love in the second week. Back in LA on January 18th, Brian began sessions for the Beach Boys' next album. Inspired by the new Beatles album Rubber Soul, he's determined to create the greatest rock and roll album ever made. Wanting to try something different, since December, he's been collaborating with a new lyricist, Tony Asher, who is an advertising copywriter and commercial jingle composer. The sessions with Brian's favorite group of studio musicians have been productive, and he's been playing some of the new backing tracks to the group over the phone during their Japan tour. On February 3rd, finally back in LA and with a short break before returning to recording and touring, Carl marries his girlfriend Annie Hinchy, Billy's sister. The touring Beach Boys attend their first session for the new album on February 9th. Brian has already held at least 8 sessions and begun work on at least 5 backing tracks. The session doesn't go well. To varying degrees, they seem stunned and bewildered by Brian's change in musical direction. They begin work with vocals on a song called Hang On to Your Ego. Mike reacts by laughing and cutting up in the studio, and Al simply has technical trouble with what he's asked to sing. The fact that they're all still undoubtedly exhausted after the Japan tour probably doesn't help matters. On February 15th, the group go to the San Diego Zoo for an extensive photo shoot. For once, all members are present, even Bruce, though ultimately he won't appear in the photo chosen for the next album cover. The next day, February 16th, the Beach Boys return to Western Recorders, where Brian works on mixing and the group practice vocals for the new album. They learn that Elvis Presley is recording nearby at Radio Recorders. Brian is reportedly too nervous to meet him, but Bruce, seemingly the most socially outgoing and least starstruck of the group, pays him a visit. Elvis is working on songs for his upcoming movie Spin Out. When Bruce returns, Brian has him recount the entire conversation. On March 7th, a Brian Wilson solo single, Caroline No, backed with Summer Means New Love from the Beach Boys' Summer Days and Summer Nights, is released. Just over 2 weeks later, on March 23rd, a new Beach Boys single, Sloop John B., backed with You're So Good to Me from Summer Days and Summer Nights, is released. We'll devote next week to a discussion of those singles, particularly Sloop John B. There are some important behind-the-scenes changes in March. The Beach Boys change management companies and soon take on Nick Grillo as their personal manager. And the Beach Boys hire the Beatles' former publicist, Derek Taylor, to do publicity for them. After leaving the Beatles, Taylor relocated to Los Angeles late in 1965. Since opening shop in LA, he's done publicity for Bruce and Terry. He's also taken on publicity for the Byrds and for a little-known aspiring blues singer called Captain Beefheart. The Beach Boys pay Taylor $750 a month. On March 28th, Derek Taylor's clients Bruce and Terry release a new single. The A-side, Don't Run Away, is written by Bruce Johnston and Mike Love. Mike is credited on the sheet music, but for some reason not on the record label. The B-side is Girl, It's All Right Now. The single won't chart. With Terry becoming a hot producer after doing the Byrds' first two albums, and Bruce becoming ever busier with the Beach Boys, it'll end up being the last Bruce and Terry single, apart from a one-off reunion single in 1975. That'll do it for the first quarter of 1966. Please join me next time for an extended look at Sloop John B. and Brian's solo single, Caroline No. Meanwhile, I look forward to your feedback. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. Bye.